That's good. That's good. All right, all you folks who are in the room, I appreciate you being here tonight. In just about a minute, we're going to go live. We may be live already, are we? All right, Sebastian, I'm going to start singing. But thank you all for being here. We're going to have about 30 minutes of reflective time, chanting and silence and stillness. And then I'll invite you all to come a little closer forward, and we're going to have a dialogue. So thanks for being here this evening. I'm going to go ahead and start, Sebastian. Out beyond horizons of thought and space and time is a place where mystics play, a place beyond our minds, far beyond our senses, but still within our reach. We'll find there is a window to all life's mystery, a place of co-creation, the home of the I am, a place of purest being beyond the words of man. Let's travel there together and know that we will find a home of true nirvana in the eyes of the divine. And we shall know God, we shall know God, beauty and forgiveness, unity and love. We shall know God, we shall know God, joining here together, exploring the beyond. We shall know God, and we shall know each other. We shall know love. We shall know God. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Reverend Richard Burdick, and this is Unity North Atlanta. And I'm delighted to welcome you into this space, to welcome you into this room, those of you here, to welcome you into my heart and to the heart of this congregation. Tonight is a very interesting night. I have a guest who's going to be sharing the discussion and the dialogue with me. His name is Doug Carty. He's a member of the Unity North family. He's also a member of our Healing and Wholeness ministry. He's also a man who's just come out with a book about mystical experiences. We're going to tell you about that in a minute, but I thought it would be good to just set the foundation for the evening and to go on a mystical adventure, a magical adventure beyond our lives. So I'm going to invite you right now to join me in setting aside the day, setting aside everything that happened this day, anything that you brought into the room, put it down for a moment. And let's agree to meet at an ethereal level, at a spiritual place. It's what we do here. Beyond what we do, beyond what we think, beyond what we feel, beyond all the experiences and expressions of being a human being. There is a divine essence that is the truth of who we are, and we celebrate that tonight. I want to celebrate those that it's been a month since I've been here on Wednesday night. I want to thank Averill and Sarah and Erica for holding the fort down for the last month. They did a beautiful job. True mystics, every one of them in their own right. I invite you to get in touch with the inner mystic that is you. For the next 30 minutes, let's go on an adventure together. I'll be chanting and invite you to chant with me. We'll have periods of silence. We'll have periods of guided meditation. We'll have moments of recognition where we know God and we know each other and we know love. Take a breath with me, and let's begin that journey with closing our outer eyes and opening our inner eyes, that which sees beyond which we are seeing. Breathe with me. A deep, cleansing breath. And on the exhale, simply release anything that is in the way, any thought or idea or notion that's in the way of you knowing yourself as the light of the world. And once again, we inhale together, and the mind chatter begins to stop, and the heart rate begins to slow. And on the exhale, we release anything that is in the way of us knowing the divine light of all creation. And as you continue to breathe, find your own rhythm, your own pattern, but let each breath go to a deeper place, to a higher place. We let go of that which doesn't belong and return to the Spirit. I am. Say that silently to yourself. I am. The veritable name of God. I am. And as you speak those words, I am, you are aligning yourself with the I am of the entire cosmos. That which is known as the name God. In unity, we like to call it life. We call it love. Whatever you call it, let it be alive in you. Let every voice but God's be still now. Continuing to breathe, we begin with our first chant. I let go of the world's expectations. I let go of all views of who I am, and I return to the one that created me. I return to the Spirit I am. I let go of the world's expectations. I let go of all views of who I am. I let go of the world's expectations. I let go of all views of who I am. I return to the one that created me. I return to the Spirit I am. I return to the one that created me. I return to the Spirit I am. You can sing aloud or sing silently in the sanctuary of your own heart as we do this one more time. I let go of the world's expectations. I let go of all views of who I am. I let go of the world's expectations. I let go of all views of who I am. I return to the one that created me. I return to the Spirit I am. I return to the one that created me. I return to the Spirit I am. I return to the one that created me. I return to the Spirit I am. And together, I return to the one that created me. I return to the Spirit I am. Sit in our first period of silence, immersed as the I am presence itself, here and now, completely free, completely open. The Spirit, the I Am presence, is in the breath. With total awareness of your breathing in and breathing out. That is life. That is the life force since the beginning of time. It is the Spirit to the end of time. And let us be aware that not only are we breathing a breath, but the breath is breathing us. And as we progress further into our evening, let that breath become slow and graceful, peaceful and easy. And with each breath you take, become aware of the pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. And with each exhale, become aware of the pause before you inhale again. It is there that some might call the emptiness, where we know God. We know love, and we know each other. So as you continue to breathe, that place of in-between, let yourself rest there. Let yourself be there without thought, for it is a place of being, not doing. And as you continue to just be there, that space becomes more expansive. Maybe not in time, but in awareness. The space between inhale and exhale. The space between exhale and inhale. Here you are safe. Here all is well. Here you know all that you need to know, and you release all that you need to release, the place of in-between. In-between is the place where I grow. In-between is the place where I learn. In between is the place where I know I am safe, all is well, I am home. Say that silently with me. I am safe, all is well, I am home. I am safe, all is well, I am home. In between is the place where I grow. In between is the place where I learn. In between is the place where I know I am safe, all is well, I am home. Say that with me. I am safe, all is well, I am home. I am safe, all is well, I am home. Let us rest in home, in the purity, in the presence of who you have always been and who you will always be. Here you are home in the silence. In this human world with all of our religious institutions full of ideas, set them all aside and let's live in the place of mystery, to just be still and to listen. No words to memorize. No ideas to commit to heart. Only the love of God, the presence of pure being. All these human-made ideas trying to find God. All these words on pages. All these services of teaching. All important, but only as road signs, markers pointing us in the direction within. In the direction of presence that transcends it all. A place of darkness and mystery, a place of not knowing, a place beyond matter, a place beyond human expression and human experience. That is the home. Let every voice but God's be still in me now. Into the presence, into God's presence, into the presence, into God's presence. Chant silently these words with me. Into the presence, into God's presence, into the presence, into God's presence, into the presence. Would I enter now, for I am surrounded by the love of God. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Let every voice but God's be still in me. Together, into the presence, into God's presence, into the presence, into God's presence. Continue to breathe, continue to be, to continue releasing, continue being into the presence. Would I enter now, for I am surrounded by the love of God. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Let every voice but God's be still in me. Into the presence, into God's presence, into the presence, into God's presence. Let's sit together in the presence of God, of the One, of the All, the presence. There are those that believe that the mystical experience is some far-off, distant place that we have to go to. And then there are those that believe that although that mystical experience can feel very far off, that unknown, that oneness with the infinite is right here, is right now. Let us know now, right now, where we are, that God is no more present in some far-off, distant place than God is in this dimension. That we, as portals and avenues to that dimension, bring to the earth an awareness, a song, if you will, that the divine and the human meet right in the center. And this beautiful and precious, clear water, this spring of eternal goodness, is not separate from us, but it is within us. And so it can feel far away, but it can also feel as near as the breath you just took, or the beating of that heart in your chest. And consider for a moment that maybe that's our job, to bring the divine to the moment, to have the ears to hear God, to have the eyes to see the presence. To have the heart that feels the presence. To have the mind that knows God beyond the limits of a human experience. And in that seeking, maybe, perhaps, the earthly journey is just a little bit closer to the spiritual reality that has always been. That which is untouched by any of the earthly experience is right here. And so I invite you to hear the words of God speaking through you, around you, and as you, as we begin to make our journey back into a time of dialogue and sharing. Seek me, I am here. Open up to me. I am waiting here every moment. I am all. I am one. Seek me. Say those words with me. I am all. I am all. I am one. I am one. Seek me. Seek me. Seek me, I am here. Open up to me. I am waiting here every moment. I am all. I am one. Seek me. Hear the voice of God expressed at the point of view, singing. I am all. I am one. Seek me. Seek me, I am here. Open up to me. I am waiting here every moment. I am all. I am one. Seek me. I am all. I am one. Seek me. I am all. I am one. Seek me. And in our final period of silence, as we prepare to come back into this time and this space and this dimension, let us have those eyes and those ears, that mind and that heart, to seek God in all of it. In the silence, know that God is all, God is one, waiting to be found. And so as we prepare to end our time of reflection, let us bring back an idea, a feeling, a vision, a thought knowing that that dimension and this dimension are so intricately woven together that there is no separation. In the mind of a mystic, there is only the one. Let's bring that back into this space. And as the lights come up just ever so slightly, I invite you to bring your attention back to your breath. And I'm going to make my way to the floor, and I want to have a dialogue about some of the concepts in the meditation, and a dialogue with the man that I mentioned earlier, Doug Carty. I'm going to invite him to come up to the chair next to me. And those of you in the room, invite you to come a little closer. We have a microphone. We're going to have a time of question and answer, a time of sharing, and I've asked Doug to share a little bit about his book. Those of you online, I thank you for joining us, and I hope you will stay for the dialogue. We're going to go ahead and record this dialogue, and I hope that you will lean into the screen. And if you have questions that you can put online that my team can put out to us, we'd like to see those questions as well. For those of you who are not going to be staying past the meditation, I invite you to find a way to say thank you for the time that we've spent together, a donation of some kind, text to give, mailing a check to the church, stopping by and saying thank you for the work that you're doing. We do this because lives are being touched and lives are being transformed. And your generosity of spirit and of affluence allows us to continue the work and certainly to get people over the airwaves as well as in the room. So I'm going to make my way down to the floor at this point. And I don't know if the camera's following me, but I hope you in the room will follow me as we come on down here and prepare to talk about mystical experiences. I spoke to a couple of you before we began, and it sounds like the right people are here at the right time, that we have a group of people that are seekers, spiritual seekers, and I hope that those of you online are also spiritual seekers. This evening came about as a result of my conversation with Doug. This is Doug Carty to my right. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a member of our congregation. He's an extremely humble man. He's soft-spoken, and he has been exploring for I think he said the last 50 years, these mystical awarenesses, seeking a deeper reality, a deeper truth, looking for something that maybe he didn't find in classes, he didn't find in books, the direct experience of God. And he's a member of our Wholeness ministry, and I have sat in the room with him doing the work that he does before, so I know that there's something going on beyond a man doing healings in the room. There is the awareness that he has is being brought into the moment. He is an avid student, I'm going to read some bio stuff here, of mystical dreaming and visioning. And he has recently realized the dream that he shared with me when it was just an idea of writing a book about many of those experiences that he has had. The book is entitled Ascent to the Center of Being. Doug and I were joking that seems like a bit of an oxymoron, a bit of a paradox, an ascent to the center of being. And in that book, Doug shares a very long, progressive series of mystical dreams and visions that culminate in his ability to witness creation from a very elevated vantage point. That new view has positively expanded his spiritual life and his earthly existence exponentially. So I invited him to join me. You want to grab a microphone and turn it on, Doug, to have you just begin a dialogue. I hope there'll be some Q&A. I hope that you will also offer some insight here today. But Doug, can you speak to us about the thirst and the hunger that you had on 50 years to devoted to a spiritual path, and I think you maybe even said a few more than 50, to discovering something that was beyond. Can you talk a little bit about that hunger and that thirst? And hold that real close to your memory.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and read the...
why don't you read the foreword to the book?
Yeah.
That's okay.
But we'll get
I told you I was going to do
back
that, and I forgot.
It's okay.
Go ahead and read the foreword to the book.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank you for a wonderful, entrance to all this. It was spot on. When you were talking about the breathing, I was actually experiencing breathing through my feet, and that is something that doesn't make a lot of rational sense, but it's actually possible with the energy body. and it's very uplifting. It actually is something I do. Well, I haven't actually done it before through my feet, but I've done it through my hands, and I do that on a regular basis. Anyway, I digress. So really, I'm here not so much about the book. I'm really here about the spiritual journey. That's what's important. That's what's valuable. Anyway, the book is called Ascent to the Center of Being, and as Richard said, it is a paradox, but paradox is the way of mystical truth for sure. It's been published since January. It's available at lulu.com, LULU.com. It's currently just in ebook form. However, I'm looking at publishing a print version. I'm working on that as of yesterday, anyway.
I like the idea of it's only in an ebook form, energetic form.
There you
Kind
go.
of like what we're talking about, things that exist or only in the energetic body. I wanted to ask you a question, if I could. Can I begin asking before you get to that forward?
Sure.
Yeah, we're going off the cuff here, folks.
It's all right.
But you said something about the energetic body and the physical body. Does the physical body contain the energetic body, or is it more expansive than what we can feel with our bodies?
They exist side by side in alternate dimensions. Yeah.
Have you, in what you're about to share with us, have you left the physical body to have those experiences?
Yes, it's necessary. Yeah.
Necessary. Okay.
I mean, the physical body can't go to these other perceptual dimensions because they're not physical. It's simple, really. Yeah. So, anyway, I'll kind of just take you through the basic description that I was required to add to publish the book. Mm-hmm. So it goes like this. This book describes my spiritual journey. What may be unique about that journey is the most transformational portions of it took place through a long but progressive series of mystical dreams and visions. The experience culminated in it being given to me to witness creation from undifferentiated awareness to final form. The journey transformed me energetically. A balance has been struck I can draw upon in any circumstances I find myself in. Also, my inner life has become rich beyond measure, yet I'm also free to live in this world, on this earth, with joyous abandon. I mean, at the end of the day, the spiritual journey, the spiritual quest, the desire to reach the end of one's spiritual journey is really an outgrowth of our essential desire to be free, to be totally free.
But what would you say were that longing is to be free from what?
Limitations.
Yeah. In particular, physical limitations?
Well, that's different, but fear.
Fear, okay. So we got emotional and mental limitations, things that have kept us from becoming our true self.
Yes.
So when you talk about a balance, in the foreword you mentioned the balance. What is that a balance between?
Between the energy body and the physical body.
Okay. Kind of what Jesus talked about was being in the world but not of the world. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you have found, what was the word you used, undifferentiated?
Yes.
Can you explore that for me, what that means, undifferentiated realities?
Awareness, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Realities are differentiated.
Okay.
But anyway, let's go through the forward, and I'll answer that partially, at least there.
Okay.
So, forward for the book goes like this. Quoting from an article on the ancient city of Teotihuacan, which lies at the southernmost edge of the geographical area known as the Mexican Plateau, Mesoamericans of the time envisioned the world as being born of complete darkness, in this case, aqueous. And this is from an article by Scher, Matthew. Passage to the Gods is the name of the article, and it's from the Smithsonian Magazine, and the issue is June 2016. And that was a real awakening for me to see that article, because I had no real context for what I was experiencing until I saw that. I had some context, but that sort of gave me some depth to that context. I first learned of what I have come to call mystical dreaming in several written works of Carlos Castaneda. Carlos Castaneda was a shaman of a certain lineage that was in the Mexican, Central American area. I was intrigued by it. Based on the stepwise instruction provided in some of those books, I endeavored developing this form of dreaming myself. Initially, I progressed through the first few steps in the order and semblance Castaneda presented them. Then, for the remainder of what turned out to be an epic mystical journey to the center of being, the mystical dreaming experiences took on a life, direction, and expansion pattern of their own. It wasn't that I ever entirely ceased having common human nighttime dreams, but rather they were rendered insignificant and insubstantial. The mystical nighttime dreaming experiences, in contrast, were riveting. Even after the eventual return to common human awareness the following morning, I could recall every detail. Fairly early in my mystical dreaming journey, I wrote a few dreams in emails to my energy healing mentor, Bonnie Hammond. She used to be here in Atlanta as part of the Unity community, but she's moved to North Carolina a few years ago. She found them interesting and encouraged me to continue to write them as they occurred. The energy released by the dreams was always potent and often off the chart. I felt compelled to express them in some way. They could not be contained. Writing them, I discovered, not only allowed the energy of the dreams to be released and to expand and moderate, but also engendered awareness of deeper layers of meaning. Over a period of some months, an email distribution group of perhaps 6 or 8 energetically compatible people developed that became my audience. What follows in this book are the emails I communicated to that audience in the order they were experienced and written. I've included subject lines and date stamps for each. I always felt the dreams chose me rather than me them. Since I didn't know my journey's destination until after I reached it, I had no way to plot my own course. And it was by no means a linear progression. I've experienced that the landscape of the human perceptual unknown, but not unknowable, is vast beyond my ability to map it or witness all its wonders. And oh, the wonders I've seen.
So, Doug, I got 50,000 questions based on what you just read. I'm going to ask a couple, but if there are anything that anybody in the room would like to ask of Doug of these experiences as we begin to peel back the layers of just a forward to get into the book. You mentioned the words energetically compatible. And you said 6 to 8 people that were energetically compatible became your audience. I would just ask the question, is the general population operating at a vibration that they're not compatible with the places that you have gone and that you have experienced, or is that potential in all creation?
I would say that it's not so much, they're certainly capable of taking a spiritual journey, but I'd say it's mostly they're not interested. I mean, they don't realize, from internal or external sources that's possible in most cases.
So it's really not so much even a fear of the unknown. They don't even know. It's ignorance, if you will, of what we truly are, who we truly are. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, we have people in the room that do want to know, that are seeking. And you want to say something? Come on up. You mind if I get you up on camera? Is that all right? You look beautiful. You can just stand right here and face Doug. There you go. Hold that close.
Maybe because I was in meditation, I don't know if I fully grasped, but your forward started with
Teotihuacan.
Did you go there, or?
I didn't. I've never physically been there. I've been to some of the Teotihuacanos actually predated the Mayas, and I've been to some Maya ruins.
Do you know what part of Teotihuacan, what area that is?
It's yeah, I mentioned that in my forward. It lies at the southernmost edge of the geographical area known as the Mexican Plateau. So I believe it's either south or north of Mexico City, not greatly distance from there.
The reason why I was asking is because I think I've been there. That's been one of the places that I've been there, and I've had a lot of magical experiences there. So I was kind of trying to see how that connected with everything for you.
That would make sense, yeah. I would believe that easily.
I think that's in the state of Oaxaca.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Not real
So
expert on.
we've used some words here, mystical and magical. For those that don't know what they don't know, that means nothing to a lot of people in the world. What are you able to kind of give us? And I know it's hard to put words on something that transcends words. Thanks, Jacinta. Are we able to put words to what does mystical mean? You know, in the forward you talk about darkness, and that's a concept, darkness. But what does that darkness feel like? And maybe I'm trying to put you into the world by putting a feeling to it. Can you explore those terms a little bit with us?
Yeah, I just happened to print out a couple just selections from my book, and one of them bears directly on that whole idea of darkness, which some people find difficult to understand. So the title of this email, that I sent, which is an excerpt from the book, is called "Fish from the Dark Sea," and well, I'll explain it pretty well here. So let's go through it, and then we'll see where we're at. So this was sent July 9, 2012. I sat to some distance healing, to do some distance healing with the group picture. Okay, so there's another aspect of the book that I don't really go into in the foreword, other than a reference to my energy healing mentor, but there are parts of this, especially in the earlier years, well, not only, but where there's some intermixing with my energy healing experiences, my Reiki. I'm trained at the Reiki master level. And I've been practicing mainly in the Unity container, Wholeness Ministry, for about, I guess, 12 years now. Anyway, so I'll read that part too, although I guess I could skip it, but I'll read it. I sat to do some distance healing with a group picture from the Reiki Master class last night and found myself sending healing energy to one in the group with my left hand and to another with my right. Reiki stereo. It was very cool. Very efficient too. That wasn't the whole session, but the best part. So then I go on so I was answering another email there, I'm sure. I think I've mentioned to you about the dark sea of awareness that I've had some experience with. It's basically undifferentiated awareness, not dark in the sense of anything negative. Initially, I had some experience with being dropped into it or falling into it, but over the last few years, it's more fishing it and pulling out fish that are awareness enhancements. Last night, I dreamed I woke in a bed, another way to maintain continuity while changing dreams, and found a whole stringer of fish hanging from the bedpost just above my head and to one side. Maybe 5 or 6 fish, and of 2 distinct kinds. It was a gift from some other mystic fisherman, or maybe from the dark sea itself. I've never had such a gift. Usually on my own, I'm lucky to catch one a fishing trip.
You know, when you talk about the darkness, a term that we use here a lot in Unity is the field of infinite possibilities. Science talks about the 96% universe, which is dark matter. And as you were reading that, I had this vision of reaching in spiritually, not physically, into this place of possibility, infinite possibilities, and pulling out of it things that you didn't expect or anticipate or even intend, but things that were just gifts from being comfortable with that place of unknowing. Is that similar what you're talking about?
Yeah, there's a definite connection there. Yeah, you were talking about, the inner silence, being in the silence, and really that is the jumping off point to all these experiences. We can't really go there directly from the internal dialogue, which is most of what most of us deal with, at least most of our lives. But that place of meditation, of being meditation, being in meditation, that's the springboard to the infinite, to the perceptual unknown. And one reason I was able to have these kinds of experiences, not all of them, but most of them were because when we're sleeping, our awareness shifts automatically. We're out of that internal dialogue, we're in another state. And from that state, it's much easier to go to this state. It's just the way it works.
So you're telling me that I can't think myself into these experiences?
Some people can, apparently, but I always felt, like I said in the foreword, I always felt like the dreams chose me. It wasn't so much that I couldn't get into the state on my own, but it was more like, since I didn't know what I wanted to do, what my essential purpose was, I just would just kind of follow the breadcrumbs, I guess you could say. It just kind of took on a direction.
Would a place of receptivity, of not knowing, of vulnerability and humility be a necessary component? Would be for you necessary components in order to have reached that place?
Yeah, like I said, really what it takes, other than, being aware that it's possible, it takes energy. It takes, because most of us, we use all our energy in our daily activities, but unless and until we can kind of store some energy, that's really what it's about. So, if you wanted to go this way, it would be a matter of, at the end of every day, or just, develop a process where you say, okay, I did this today, it didn't work, I'm wasting energy. This is something I don't need. You kind of have to jettison the things, the baggage. And
we call those energy leaks.
Yeah,
we have to look at where there are energy leaks, go and get rid of those leaks so that we can keep the energy for what is true and necessary and most important.
Yeah, that's like the dollar is the currency of this domain, of the country anyway. Energy is the currency of the universe. If you can store enough energy, energetically, men store their energy, their spiritual energy, in the energetic equivalent of the solar plexus, and women in the energetic equivalent of their womb or their uterus, FYI. And I have seen, and I've had other healers see that I have a white ball of energy right in that area. Now, I don't know if I always had that or whether it developed, but anyway, I think it probably developed. I don't think I always had it because I had to go through the same process.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah,
and
yeah, exactly.
It doesn't really matter. It's the awareness that it's there. I have one more question, and then Shirley's got a question, and we have a question up on the screen as well.
Okay.
But you talked about long-distance healing. We've talked about the work that you're doing, the mystical experience, and this energy, this otherworldly energy, is not contained physically. Does it transcend time and space as well?
Well, yeah.
Go ahead and take a water. I'm going to get the microphone to Shirley,
Yes, I mean, the energy is conscious. It's basically consciousness. So, yeah. So there's no limitations. Time and space don't limit consciousness, which I think probably everybody can understand or can accept. But yeah, being able to shift perception is really what it is.
So it would be a perception of time.
Well, it changes everything. You're shifting into another perceptual dimension. I mean, this world is something we all share, but we share because we perceive it the same way, more or less. I mean, the chair is chair, and so on, but once you start going outside, shifting to another, which, can be a reality, could be a complete reality in and of itself, it's just different. It's just different rules apply.
Would you say that we have to unlearn that which we've been taught through the five-sensory world, which has kind of dumbed us down to the reality, that we have to unlearn what we have been taught?
It's a matter of being fluid, perceptually fluid.
Okay.
Developing that fluidity.
I like that.
Yeah, and just like any other fluidity, the more you use it, one of my friends once said it's like a muscle. If you exercise the muscle, it gets stronger and it gets easier to use, and you can do more with it.
I laugh at myself and others who said, I meditated for 5 minutes and I didn't achieve enlightenment. What you're saying is that this is a period, how many years? Was 50 years correct?
With more or less varying degrees of intensity, but yeah.
Okay, so Shirley's got a question, and we have a question online. Go ahead, Shirley.
Well,
hold that real close.
So much you've said, I've gotten lost in some of the things I wanted to say. But in the Bible, there was a transfiguration with Jesus when James and Peter was with him, and they saw with Jesus Moses and some other saints. That was called the transfiguration. So I'm asking you about astral projection, where the body. You talk about dreams. Okay, for me, dreams are something inside you, you dream. That can be prophetic or whatever. But when you are sitting here right now, but in some state you astral project to another place, have you experienced that, or can you elaborate more on that? Because I know it exists because it happened with me, where I sat in an edifice, and the next thing I know, I'm in Mecca, bowing with the saints, Jesus, Moses, people I've never come in contact with. Now that I didn't bring upon myself. I don't know how I got there. All I know is when I came out of it, someone
Where did you end up?
Sir? I learned this term when I studied psychology in school. They call it astral projection, because that's what psychology does, teach you terms to answer for things you need to put a label on, like mystical adventures or supernatural things.
Sure.
It's called when you are in a particular place.
Hold that close so we can hear you
I'm
online.
sorry. When you're in a particular place, but your body, you see yourself somewhere else. Like the people who have the dreams where they have died and they move to another realm. That would be a form of astral projection, where you are physically here lying in your bed, but you died, but you see yourself in another place. Well, I'm thinking of two terms, astral projection or transfiguration, where you are physically here, but you can physically not. You don't do this. For me, it doesn't happen
It sounds
with
very
you.
similar, like it's just different terms to try to understand, to try to contain the same experience. Wouldn't you say that what she's describing?
Yeah, I try to keep it simple and
Because
yeah,
I'm feeling a lot of the things that I've experienced, I didn't bring upon myself. They just happen.
absolutely, yeah.
So it is mystical, though. I agree with, we use the term paranormal, supernatural. These are mystical things that I can't tap into.
How many people in the room have had a similar experience where you were out of the body? I know when I get into a place of, I've done music before, and
Yeah,
suddenly
you transcend.
the
You just
chant, the song
go
is no
somewhere
longer
else.
being sung. I'm in a different realm.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that I understand what you're saying about the other dimensions, and they work with all of us in a different way. And I understand yours, and I understand some of what you're saying about dreams. But for me, my dreams are just pat dreams, and they are prophetic, or they just showing me something I'm coming to. But when I have experience with things, I'm here and things happening elsewhere, I have to apply another term, and it's not something that I bring upon myself. I have no idea.
Doug, you mentioned something in one of the readings that you shared about human dreaming, the dreams. And I was curious, do these mystical experiences, these transfigurations, whatever we call them, happen only at night when you're asleep? Or do they happen during the daylight hours when you're walking and suddenly you're no longer here?
It's less likely for me, and you that can be dangerous. You got to be able to manage that. I mean, one of the things with all this is, which goes back to like LSD and that kind of thing is, some of those people had some of these experiences, but since it wasn't natural, they died or just never came back from where they went. I mean, it's important if you undertake this kind of thing that you do it with what's called sobriety. You've got to have your feet on the ground, you got to have your head level, and
is it easier to go to these places when you've fallen asleep and you shut off parts of your brain?
Yeah, that's what I said earlier, that it's much easier because it's part of the natural shift of going into sleep and into those altered states that you experience during the evening, overnight when
it makes me feel really good because often people will say, "Oh, I fell asleep during the meditation." And I say, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
a good thing because there's no blocks to what's being said and being shared. There's an open and receptive environment. Can you draw a distinction for us between just, okay, I'm asleep and I'm dreaming and I'm flying or I'm doing whatever, and the experience that you're having? You drew a clear difference that was almost completely insignificant when you got to that higher place.
Yeah, it's a different state of awareness. It's an altered state. But it's totally immersive. It's not that I didn't typically, become aware that I was in that altered state, but most of the time it was real because I was totally immersed in it.
Can you tell me?
It was all I had at the time.
What were you immersed in? I'm looking for that thing, that it, and maybe that's not a thing or an it.
It was always different,
Can you give us a couple of examples of your darkness? Might be one of it. I'm immersed.
Well, just this type of thing, like going into the dark sea, I was thrown into it. I was sometimes I'd be in a boat on it. There's a lot of those types of experiences that are described in the book.
But you're there. Sure. You're there 100%.
Yeah, I think yeah. Well, it was different every time, but it was progressive in that, and it was. Looking back now, I can see it was associated with, like I was alluding to Richard earlier. It was something that I became aware of. That to go to the next level, whatever that is, and there's always another level, I had to be purified, And that was usually not physical, but it was my energy had to be, I had to raise my vibration. And sometimes that was uncomfortable and even painful.
What are the things that you had to release or that had to be purified to get to those next levels?
Well, I guess the most salient one is I had to lose my rational fears. They take up, they're so detrimental to one's energy, they bleed off so much energy. And it was really interesting, and this experience is described in the book. I didn't bring it with me because it's kind of long, but I'll summarize it. So this is while I was still working. I've been retired from my corporate life. At best part of my career as a software engineer, but anyway, while I was still doing that, at one point, I was advancing along the path, and I got to a point where I guess this is what needed to happen next. So I started having this series of dreams. This lasted about 3 weeks, and every night I'd find myself in some psychic space where I'd be battling for my life, usually with some bladed weapons or another, swords, knives, whatever. And it felt like, it was life or death, that if I lost, at least I wouldn't progress any farther spiritually. And it was really bizarre because, sometimes it'd be time for me to go to work. I'd wake up, and I wasn't finished with the battle. It was still there. It was still ongoing. But then I'd go to work. I was fine. I had actually a lot of energy. I could focus. Everything was fine. I'd come home, eat whatever, go to bed, and it would pick up right where I left off. It was really.
Would you actively go seek that?
No. I just closed my eyes, and I was there.
Okay.
And it was right where I left off. Yeah.
So there was a question up there.
What was my pen name?
Yeah, you're talking about your pen name. How did you come about your pen name? Because you don't use the name Doug Carty in the book, and then somebody else had the hand up?
No, I don't. That was your question?
I did. Go ahead and answer that question. I'll get the microphone to her.
Yeah, I'll answer the pen names real quick. I'll answer that, and then we can go on. Mm-hmm. The book is published. I should have mentioned this earlier, but it's published under the name Eric Eisen, E-R-I-C, and then Eisen, I-C-E-N. So that was a name that, I did that for a couple reasons. For one thing, it was, I guess I co-wrote this book, my inner seer, which is Eric Eisen. And that, that's the one that had the experiences. Our ego can't have those experiences. So, it's a team effort. So.
You mentioned something to me when we were sharing, because I asked the same question, and I didn't know whether to call you Doug tonight or to call you Eric.
No, it's a good question.
But you said that there was a disassociation from the physical realm. Doug, as I believe, if I understood correctly, of the ego. The identification with the ego had to be set aside in order to get to that other place. So thus the name Eric came about.
Well, it actually came about in a very specific way. As part of the shamanic part of my journey, one night, I don't even remember how this came about, other than that it just happened. I was just in bed, and I woke up. I was aware of the physical world, but I was also in a consciousness where I knew I had a connection to the north wind, the spirit of the north wind. And it was very blissful. And I learned later, partially through my energy healing work, that the salient qualities the prominent qualities of the north wind are purity and strength. And I had a person in our Reiki group, and she was the south wind, and her qualities were gentleness and warmth, the quality of her energy, not necessarily her, but I'm sure they are too. But But anyway, so when I was in that connection with the spirit of the north wind, I was given that name. It just came to me. So, at some point I noticed that when we have a cold front come through, when the north wind is blowing, that's when my awareness is the most intense, it's most focused. Yeah,
so
it's
now
very...
the things that you're sharing let's be real, to the human ego, this doesn't make a lot of sense. This guy's talking about connecting with the north wind. For us to be able to comprehend even the places that you've gone, we have to suspend a part of our own selves, don't we, as well? In order to, what is Doug talking about connecting with the north wind? I don't understand that. And as you said earlier, the 6 or 8 people were the audience. Most of the people are not going to understand the language that you're bringing into the room. And I'm challenging us to all, including myself, suspend that which would be cynical just because it doesn't understand. That maybe the darkness and the realm of possibility is greater if I can suspend my own.
Yes, suspend judgment, yeah.
Yeah. We had a question over here.
Oh, yeah.
Hold that mic real close.
Okay, so with the thought that, or the knowing that energy is neither created nor destroyed, you're talking, like for a beginner, novice, to start doing this, letting the day's thoughts, troubles go closer to bedtime, that leaves you open to absorb more energy to get to that altered state or that altered dimension? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah,
you're
that's
saying?
basically it. Yeah, yeah. It was interesting in some of my dreams, and these dreams are in the book as well. Yeah, more than once, I had a dream where. Well, let me just digress slightly, but what I'm saying is I had to pay for something that happened to me in a dream. I had to pay to move to this new level, or have to expand my experiences and to grow and develop. I had to pay my way, and I paid it with energy dollars. It was really interesting. It's not something I ever conceived of. Just like this north wind, connection. I never even thought about that before. I mean, I'd heard, there's a lot of, shamanism around the winds and so on, but I guess I had no direct experience of the spirit of any wind.
Something you're talking about there, you had to expend energy to receive energy. It's almost like a tithing concept. In order to get to the next level, I have to invest. So you said it cost you. I looked at that as an investment, and I think your question is around the investment of my time and my energy around meditation. In order for me to get anywhere I needed to invest something. To be a piano player, I had to invest the time put into it, and it didn't happen overnight. And when I see you on your quest to get to ever expansive levels of awareness of life, you had to expend, and you got more back in return. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, it is. It is. It takes energy as the currency. Yeah, the ticket. Yeah,
well,
buy
that's
the
what
ticket.
we teach. What you put out is what's coming back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing mediocrity out, you're not really going after it. You're not going to get the full expansive experience back. I would be curious, Doug, the journey back the other direction. Okay, you've attained a reality. You're at a vibration, and it's feeling really good. Now you got to go back into your world and have relationships and have jobs and things to do. What are the benefits? Because I mentioned that in the bio that I read.
No, that's a good question.
There are benefits that come back into the world. How are you different as a man walking the earth?
Yes, that's a good question. Well, the end game is that you're endlessly joyous. That's an attribute of the higher self. And it's something I hope we all could covet even. Yeah, that's the freedom. That's a feeling the freedom allows. Happiness is fleeting, happiness is dependent, but joy isn't. Joy just is. And we become that joy. We become that love, and that peace is peace, and we can definitely feel that. I mean, one of the experience I had was I experienced that peace that passes all understanding, that's referenced in the Bible. I experienced it directly. I experienced, my breath being alive in and of itself. I've experienced a river being alive. I've seen it. I've seen it in the seer's eye, in the third eye.
I love that feeling. The joy for the breath that you just received. We're running out of time, and there is one more question online that I think directly connects to this. But I would just give testimony that when you walk into this sanctuary, you're often one of the first ones here, and so I can experience your energy. I have never experienced anything when you walk in the room other than complete contentment. I don't know what would happen before you got in the room, but you're carrying an energy with you that I resonate with and I appreciate and want. There's a question on the line here that says, interested in the concept of energy, whether it's an individual or a place. Is there a recommended approach to becoming aware of those who or that which drains your energy? So we're in the world. We're not of it. You're in the place of joy and bliss, and I think the person's asking, when you got people in your field that are not in that place, energy drains, if you will, energy vampires, some people might say, helping somebody through identifying that's occurring within their own life. That's a pretty complex question. Can you take that on?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's not ever been a big issue for me, but I guess what I've noticed as I've, progressed along my journey is that I've gotten stronger, and once I saw, when I was doing a meditation, that I have a white shield of white light. And I always felt that I was protected. Those things, I don't know, they just it's kind of like water off a duck's back, I guess. At some point, I think probably when anybody reaches a certain point in their path, they've got it's just a function of personal power, I suppose. Personal power isn't really personal. It's the amount of universal power, of divine power that we have some control over, that expresses through us. It can't be used by the ego, but it does protect us. And
so would you say...
I'd say it just develops.
So again, it takes time, but that eventually we get to the place where nobody can take anything from us, because we are connected to something greater. It's an armor, or I don't like the word armor, but the white light that does not allow things to be taken from you. So the energy vampire can come into your field, but you're grounded in something greater. They cannot take it away. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. They can't touch that because it's too powerful. They can't they can't damage it.
And that I hope it doesn't take 50 years to get there.
Well, yeah,
I haven't been on the path that long.
in the meantime, it's good to do any practical things you can do. Yeah, just avoid, things that deplete your energy, for sure. Yeah.
So withdraw from things that are draining your energy. I'm hearing you say you have permission to withdraw from those things and to put yourself into environments that are more conducive to keeping your energy.
Yeah, a classic case of in the shamanic lineage that I'm familiar with is a concept called a petty tyrant. And a petty tyrant is anybody that is difficult to the point, and particularly if they have power over you, And you have to overcome that. They're taking your power, and you got to change that for your own spiritual benefit or welfare. So in some cases, like in Castaneda's case, he had to actually go out and put himself in a position where he's being abused. By this, he went to become a short order cook in some southwest short order restaurant, and I guess he was Hispanic, and these guys are coming in there and abusing him, and he by this time he had millions of dollars, and it's very far along the shamanic path, but he had to do it because he had to learn to not react. That's really what it's about. If you don't react, you don't bleed energy.
I like to say, and then we're going to close because we're out of time, is that I've become who I am today from mystical experiences, from prayerful meditation kinds of things, but also from the difficulties. The difficulties have drawn me to a greater capacity to know myself. And that took a switch in my head. I had to contextualize it that way, that it wasn't me being a victim, it was me learning a greater capacity to be myself. And I think that that's what we're talking about. Both the human and the divine are pointing us in the direction of knowing ourselves. Can you give us a closing thoughts that you would like to offer anybody who's listening or here in the room? The most important thing.
I guess, I guess what I'd like to say is, it's the spiritual journey that's important, and it's worth taking. It's worth taking. It can be difficult. It's challenging, but there's nothing richer. And when you get towards the end or at the end, it's infinite. It's really a process of disappearing into the infinite.
Ooh, I like that. That's a nice term to end with. So we wish us all disappearing into the infinite. Let that sit with you this week. I want to thank you, Doug. I put Doug on his edge because when we talked about this book, I said, well, why don't you come to a Wednesday night service with me, and I'll put you on a microphone and on a screen. And you can tell he's a very humble man, and he paused. I heard the pause on the phone when I asked it, and then I heard the response that came from that place of disappearing into the infinite. So I thank you for being willing to do that and to share. Again, lulu.com, Lulu.com, and Eric Eisen is the author they're looking for. So thank you all for joining us here. If you have any questions, we'll be here for a couple more minutes. Thank you to those who are joining us online. If you'd like more information, I can get you in contact with Doug. Or if you like these concepts and ideas, we're dealing with these things all the time here at Unity North. In fact, we have some near-death experiences coming up that we're going to be sharing here as well. I invite you to come on back. But thank you for your time, your attention, your energy, and have a blessed and beautiful evening. We'll see you Sunday morning.
When I need a man, I can't. I believe.